Years ago, when I started blogging, and well, it might have been when I first hopped on Twitter, I saw that there was a Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture in New York City, and there was there is an annual Black comic book festival there, I believe. I don't know if it's resumed since the end of the pandemic, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that this was my first time hearing about this Schomburg Center. I didn't know the significance of the name. Initially, the name looked like it might be of Israeli or Jewish descent, but it turns out to belong to someone important. As with a lot of Black history, it is buried in books, and unless someone makes the effort to dig that history up, and unless you are curious enough to seek out the information and read various materials, you'll never know who these people are, and you'll never know what names mean. So this is another short essay from the book Eye on History by Mother Eva M. Doyle. I hope she doesn't mind me reading this, but I didn't know who Mr. Schomburg was until I read this. And I think that a lot of people don't know who Mr. Schomburg is. And so I think that this will educate and enlighten quite a few people. So this is from the essay entitled The Collector. He was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. J.A. Rogers called him the Sherlock Holmes of Negro history. He collected thousands of books, manuscripts, and pictures which depicted Black life and history. Arthur A. Schomburg made an impression as a scholar and a man who would not give up the search for the history of the Black man. He engaged in many debates about the contributions of African Americans. He wrote numerous articles for magazines and newspapers, sharing his knowledge with the world. Although he is not as well known as Du Bois or Carter G. Woodson as a historian, he certainly deserves a place in the ranks of those who placed high as scholars and intellectuals. Arthur A. Schomburg was determined to connect African Americans to the history of the world. He was instrumental in organizing the Black history for historical research, and in 1982 was elected president of the American Negro Academy. He spent every spare moment tracing every clue and connecting every small detail to his collections on the Black man. He discovered a valuable manuscript which was written by Lemuel Haynes, a Black minister of a large white New England church before the emancipation of the slaves. In 1929, Arthur A. Schomburg was the curator of more than 5,000 volumes of historical material on the Black race. These included books, magazines, old manuscripts, newspapers, and valuable letters. Many of these books were bound in expensive leather and were sold for a great deal of money. He had in his possession the rarest of books and the most difficult to find works on the achievements of the Black man. It is interesting to note here that any book of value that gives an in-depth and honest look at the historical contributions of the Black races are rare and very difficult to find. The most challenging and informative ones have been very cleverly kept from the Black man's reach. Arthur Schomburg had a valuable skill. He was a researcher who sought to find the truth. He was a collector who had a priceless collection of the best that the Black man had to offer. He performed his work in the early 1900s, but he has been forgotten by many. He was never known by others because Blacks have not been taught too much about Black history. It is very unfortunate that we lack so much knowledge. Although Schomburg held his audiences in the early 1900s, he has significance for us today. He was news then, and he is news now. This book is dedicated to preserving the memory of our struggles to foster a new dignity and respect for blacks in general. All of our heroes are not on the battlefield. All of our heroes are not in the sports arena. We need a new direction. We need a new thought. We need an intellectual shot in the arm to wake up and listen to the voices of the past, because they are telling us something. They are telling us that we have the ability, the mind, the soul, the character, and the power to achieve anything that we want to achieve. We can use these positive attitudes to emerge as a strong race for the future. The real heroes are the scholars, the educators, and the men who dared to speak, teach, and rethink the history of the world. So that article is entitled The Collector, and that was from Mother Eva M. Doyle's compilation of articles and essays entitled Eye on History. So once again, I had no idea, first, I had no idea that there was a Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture. I'm not from New York City. I visited several times, but I had no idea what that was until going to social media and seeing that there was a comic book festival there. And I further didn't know who Arthur Schomburg was up until now. So this underscores the importance of reading and learning our history. And a lot of this history is either not taught or it is buried. And knowing your history is very, very important. Knowing what was done and knowing who did it, that's very, very important. For my life, it would have helped if I had known who someone like Percy Julian was before starting my graduate studies in the Department of Pharmacology at the University of Michigan. That would have told me a lot about the scientific process, number one. But I also would have known that I was not the first of my ethnic group and of my community to set out on that path. And knowing that your people have done something before, in my mind, that helps a lot. So I'm going to wrap this up. This is Big Discussions 76, my original channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Yusuf Dunbar. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to donate something to the channel. That information is below in the description box. You can also leave a super thanks if you see fit. Finally, please consider joining the Big Words LLC Newsletter. In addition to being a YouTube content creator, I'm also a writer with 2 blogs and a book project on the way. So with that, everyone, I'm going to wrap this up. Stay safe out there. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. And always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.